What you think about this? Dear John, I have been unable to sleep since I broke off our engagement. Won't you forgive and forget? Your absence is breaking my heart. I was a fool. Nobody can take your place. I love you. All my love, Melinda. Nice letter, huh? P.S. Congratulations on winning the lottery. It's amazing how some things can just turn the heart, in a new direction. In Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3, it says, "The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of His being." Interesting. So when it talks about, in the Bible, the Son of God, what we need to understand is that there is only one body of God. Right? Just like I have one body, you have one body. There's only one body of God. That's it. Only one temple that exists on this planet. There's only one race, the human race. And the human race was born to be, meant to be, designed to be, purposed to be a house, a sanctuary for the Spirit and the presence of divinity. Make sense? Point to your temple and say, I am the temple of God. Right? You are. We are. And it's amazing how many times I have to say that before people, people come to me after being here for several years and they say, James, God is within us. I say, yeah. How many know it has to come by revelation? It just doesn't come just by saying it. Right? Jesus said, the words I speak to you are spirit and they are life. In other words, it has to be a spiritual impartation. It has to be a revelation. It has to come to you. How many have you ever had a revelation about something that you were thinking about and you're working on? You said, man, I wish I understood this more and wish I knew what was going on here. And then one day you're vacuuming the floor or you're repairing the window on the side of the house or whatever you're doing. And then all of a sudden, it dawns on you the answer or a clue toward finding the answer. That's a revelation. That's an epiphany. See, and that's how we live our lives. We move from revelation to revelation. From awareness to awareness. From one understanding to another understanding. The understanding that you have now about your life and about the world will change as you grow. I remember when my oldest son was a little baby. He had one awareness. It was a beautiful awareness. It was lovely. It was wonderful. But he and we couldn't talk about things at a deeper level, at a higher level. We couldn't discuss things, But a little bit at a time. And now he's older than I am. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. And you know what? We can have that conversation now. Because a little bit at a time. See, you've had experiences in your life, haven't you? See, don't ever downplay a good or bad experience. Because you needed that in order to get to where you are now. Right? Whatever you have been through, no matter how hard it was, no matter how tough it was, no matter how mean it was, you're here now. You're the person you are now because of the understanding and the wisdom you have gained through your experiences. Or not. Right? Because we always have a choice. So don't ever poo-poo anything that you've ever gone through. Use it. Right? Use it in your life now. Does that make sense? Everything you've gone through is sacred and holy. If you will look at it in that way. Because everything was leading you to the next moment, to the next moment, to the next moment, so that you would gain a higher revelation, a higher understanding, a greater wisdom, a deeper depth of knowingness. You know what I mean by that? What do you know for sure? That's what I'm talking about. What do you know for sure? Well, one thing is you exist. You can't do anything about that, can you? You exist. You know that for sure. Is that true? Do you ever wonder about, do I really exist? No, you exist. You're here. Right? So there's some things that we know for sure. And as you grow, you begin to know certain things. Not in an intellectual kind of way where, oh my, I am so smart now. I have hold of this knowledge, and I will share it with people if they will pay me enough. Or if they will whatever. Right? Jesus said, freely you have received, and freely give. Did you know that life is about giving? Because you are the temple of God. And that spirit within you wants to manifest, wants to come forth. The only reason it doesn't is because we get stuck. We get stuck. Where do we get stuck at? In our heads. We're analyzing and scrutinizing and stuff. And after a while, you get tired of that. You ever get tired of yourself? Man, here I'm doing the same old thing, the same old way. People are so predictable. But see, when you get a revelation, it moves you on a new path. You're not in that same pattern any longer. You're moving out of the pattern, right? In a new way. Thinking a new thought. Acting in a new way of being. And it's a beautiful thing. I encourage people sometimes just to do something different. Do you always go to the same restaurants? Try something new. But I may not like it. True. But it'll get you out of the rut. And then it'll give you something to complain about. Right? Well, I went to that restaurant over there. It was the worst one. Matthew 17, verses 2 through 3, it says, there he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun. And his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking to Jesus. See, when you have an epiphany, you will transfigure, you will transform. And you will talk to Moses and Elijah. Who are Moses and Elijah? Who do they represent? The universal principles and the prophetic word that you need to hear in the moment. You hear what I'm saying? Sometimes we need to lock into a universal principle that we've been missing, that we haven't been paying attention to. Sometimes there is the law of truth that we need to get a hold of. And the truth will what? Make you free. But sometimes it's the law of grace that we need to tap into. You ever need a little mercy, a little compassion? Sure. You tap into that. Sometimes you need to hear a prophetic word in your spirit, something that speaks to you personally about your situation. Right? Because how many know that your situation is unique to you? I mean, we're all a bunch of uniques. Right? And some of us are more unique than others. Right? I would tell you who said this, but I cannot pronounce their name. I'll be your sun. I'll shine on you. I'll make you happy. I'll smile to you. You are a sun. You are a light. When you smile, when some of you smile and you walk into the room, the whole room, the energy changes. Have you noticed that some people do that? There's some people that, I was at a house one time. It was an empty house. And I don't remember why I was there. We were there doing something. And a gentleman walks in late. And he says, ooh, there's a spooky feeling in this house. And I looked at him and I said, well, that's funny. I said, until you showed up, it was just fine. How many know you carry your spookiness with you? Right? Or you carry the light with you. We always have a choice, don't we? Sure. Isaiah 9:2. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep, deep darkness, a light has dawned. See, that's what Jesus came to teach, was light. See, the word light in the New Testament, it's spoken of many, many, many times, and people misunderstand. They don't know what it means. The light of God, well, what's that? Is it the sunshine? Is it the electrical light? No. What is it? It's enlightenment. Jesus was teaching enlightenment. He was teaching people to move toward truth, move toward universal principles, move toward a spiritually intuitive living. Do you get that? If you read in there, I know there's a lot of ancient, old words in the New Testament, and sometimes you read, what does that mean? And we've westernized the Bible, unfortunately. We tried to make it fit our particular culture. But the Bible comes from an Eastern culture. And the difference between the East and the West is that the Eastern culture interprets things from within, where the Western culture interprets things from out here. You see that? Winston Churchill said, I can say his name, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. You will never feel any better in your life than when you are moved with compassion to give of yourself. That is the only thing that will make you happy. Because you're giving of yourself. And when you give of yourself, you're putting your energy out there. And when you're putting your energy out there, it will grow. It'll become bigger. And you will grow. And you will enlarge. And you will have a bigger container to receive and to know things that you need to know. See, I believe that we know what we need to know when we need to know it. Not a second before, not a second after, when you need to know it. Jesus said, in that day or hour you won't know what to say, but the Spirit within you will give you the words to speak. Sometimes, I get up here and I don't know what I'm going to talk about until I sit down here and all of a sudden it comes. And sometimes when I talk to people, individually, I don't know what's going on with people, but there's a higher intelligence, a higher mind that knows exactly what's going on. And so if I'm open and clear, then words will come forth and energy will come forth to help that person to see what they need to see in that moment. And we all have that capacity. It just has to be developed. And you have to get out of your head and get back into your heart. Get back into your intuitive knowing. Because you can know things. You can know things that are beyond logic. Right? Amy Carmichael said, you can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. Well, I love you. Didn't I tell you I loved you? It's like a guy told me one time, years ago, nobody here. He said, I told my wife when we got married I loved her. How long ago was that? 50 years? Well, have you told her since? No. She should know. I mean what I say. I said, okay. See, there's something in the Bible. You remember the story in the Old Testament about the children of Israel, and they were receiving manna from heaven. Remember that story? See, the good that you do is only good in this moment. The manna that you have now will feed you now. But they tried to store it, and it would just rot. You can't store it up. You have to give it out. You have to give it out. Right? You have to give it out. And as you give it out, Jesus said, you will what? Receive. Pressed down, shaken together, running over. Isn't that beautiful? But the manna that you had yesterday will not take care of you today. Right? It's like the paycheck you got last week. Was good for then. But guess what? You need a new one this week, right? You need another one. Yeah. Khalil Gibran said, I slept and I dreamed that life is all joy. I woke and I saw that life is all service. I served and I saw that service is joy. Isn't that great? Service is joy. You cannot outgive God. You cannot outgive life. The more you give of yourself, the more you're putting God into the world. How does God show up in the world? Through us. Through people. Right? Through your hands, through your feet, through your voice. It's a beautiful thing. St. Francis of Assisi said, for it is in giving that we receive. For the bank of love will never go bankrupt. Now you have to temper this with a little bit of self-care, right? Now if you're like I used to be, I was a wonderful martyr for God. I want to thank the Academy. And I was so helping people. I was like an ambulance service, going from one crisis to the next, one problem to the next, and just And I was doing it for God, just like the marshmallow. And he looks like he's having fun, though. That's right. He's giving of himself. So you need to temper this with some self-care and taking time for yourself to renew, to relax, and restore yourself. Right? Because if you're just always giving and you're not receiving, you're not operating according to universal law. The law is, as you give, you receive. You see? Give, and it's a circle. As I give out, then I receive back. But if you're not allowing yourself to receive back, then all you're doing is giving. Then what's going to happen is your tank is going to get empty. You're going to burn out. So you need to take those times to renew, reflect, restore. Just look up all the R words. Relax. Right? Regenerate. Isn't that neat? Many get into the habit of just taking. Circularity is when is what it's really all about. Life is a flow like a river that never ends. You see that? But becoming a giver opens you to receive. Open hands rather than closed fists keeps the flow going. Like one person told me they wanted to quit smoking. They had a dream. And in the dream, they had their pack, cigarettes like this. And they were saying, God, take this away from me. God will not take away anything from you that you are not willing to give. Make sense? You've got to be willing to give it. You've got to be willing to release it, to let it go. Right? If you become willing, or at the very least, one fellow prayed, God, make me willing to be willing. You know? I'm willing to be willing, but help me to be willing to be willing. And so what the universe does, it will take you through some situations, you'll meet some people, you'll have some experiences, and you will become willing. Amen, somebody. I must be doing real good. You're being very quiet this morning. People who give a little more than what they think they are capable of will experience a greater flow of life. Try to give a little more than what you think you're capable of. And then a greater flow begins to happen. So what is the real meaning of Christmas that we can apply to our lives today? Well, let's look at the Christmas tree. Or the Christ tree. Jesus was the first Christ tree lighting the way for the rest of us. He had many beautiful decorations and many gifts to share. Jesus was not a taker, but a giver. He gave people the gift of peace, not of the hustle-bustle kind of world, but a deep sense of inner peace. He opened the eyes of the spiritually blind. Right? Somebody says, wow, it's a miracle to see somebody who is not physically able to see it all of a sudden be able to see. But how many know that that can happen and you can still be as blind as you were before you were able to see physically? The greater miracle is when somebody has the light come on and they see what they haven't seen before. Right? He forgave and released people from their fears. He comforted those who felt alone, and he gave real compassion. What is real compassion? It's an energy. Sometimes it comes through your words. Sometimes it comes through your actions. Sometimes it comes through a touch. Sometimes it comes through a prayer. He brought the gift of joy to many by awakening their hearts and minds to recognize that happiness is a choice. How is that tree going to stay lit? If it's plugged in. Right? You got to plug it in. How many know that you got to plug yourself in to the source and be that light? So I've got a question for you this morning. How much joy are you willing to let in? A thimble full? A glass full? A barrel full? What do you want? But here's the thing. A lot of people are afraid of too much joy. Can you imagine? Woo-hoo-hoo! Whoa! Man alive! I'm feeling so good. You know? And we have those moments where we get those highs, you know. And then we have moments where we ebb a little bit down the other way. But the key is to learn the balance. You know what I'm saying? Learn the balance of life. But how much will you allow to come through you to others? Because that's where joy comes. Joy comes through you. If you're not feeling joyful, do something good for somebody. And it'll make you feel real good. Jesus didn't come on a rescue mission as much as it was a mission to turn on the light to chase away the darkness. Isn't that beautiful? He glowed and radiated the brilliant light within himself for all to see. And now it's our turn. A lot of people, all they do is talk about the birth of Jesus and the death of Jesus. That's all they talk about. And they miss all the in-between stuff. The lessons learned, the growth. And that's what we're here to do. So let yourself be decorated with lots of lights and enlightenment. Allow the many gifts that you have to share to be unleashed. Each of us has been born brilliant. You are brilliant in your own way. Just because you're not Bill Gates or Steve Jobs doesn't mean you're not brilliant. You are uniquely brilliant in your way of being brilliant. Does that make sense? All you have to do is just use what you have. Take what you got and use it. Don't let what you are going through to keep you from what you're going to. Right? I believe that all God's children are brilliant and are masters of moving beyond their limitations. But many are masters of limitation. I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that either. I can't say that. I can't go there. I can't be that. It's impossible. Well, we're here to make the impossible possible. To make the invisible visible. Are you with me this morning? Makes sense? Let's close our eyes. I invite you to take in a good deep breath. Just relaxing yourself. You're a beautiful tree of life. And God is decorating you on a regular basis. Adding another light here, a light there. A little more loving attitude, caring. A little more forgiveness, more peace, and more joy. I invite you to let it all in. Let your life in. Let it in and let it begin right now. I invite you to do something today unique, to forgive somebody. It's Christmas, so a lot of family around. Maybe there's somebody you need to forgive. Go ahead and do that, would you? Do that. Whether it's within yourself or maybe talk to them and say, hey, I'm sorry. Misunderstood. But begin now to be that person that you've always known that you really are. And may God empower you with the revelation, with the light, with the understanding, to be a beautiful tree, that beautiful Christmas tree, full of decorations, full of life. And so we give thanks today. Another Christmas has come. And we're learning and we're growing. We say, thank you, God. And so be it. So be it. All right. Thank you for listening this morning. All right. We've got a little song we want to do together. And I hope you'll come out to our New Year's Eve. It's just a great way to start the year. Because we get a big bowl. And everybody writes down all the stuff that you want to get rid of, and you put it in the bowl, and then we take it outside because we don't want to burn down the building. We tried having it inside, but it was too smoky. Right? There was a lot of stuff being burned up. And so we invite you to come on out for that. We'll have soup and salad. Just bring either a soup or a salad or whatever you want to bring. And it should be a lot of fun. And then we'll be talking about the 5 unity principles. And next week we'll start with the first principle. All right? On New Year's Day. Thank you so much. All right, let's sing. You want to stand up? If you've been sitting for a while.
You are the spirit of Christmas. You are the light of the star above. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of love. You are the the star that shines right here. You are the candle that glows so bright. And you're an angel of heavenly light. You are the spirit of Christmas. You are the light of the star above. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of love. You are the candy name so sweet. You are the Santa friend to meet. You are the gift that's fun to share. And your heart like a teddy bear. You are the spirit of Christmas. You are the light of the star above. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of love. You are a stocking that's filled to the top. You are the light that will never stop. You are the ribbon that's tied in style. You are the face with the loving smile.
Oh yeah, let's sing it now.
You are the spirit of Christmas. You are the light of the star above. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of love. You are the song that needs to be sung. You are peace to everyone. You are the hope that's needed here. And you are love every day of the year. You are the spirit of Christmas. You are the light of the star above. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of
One more time.
You are the spirit of Christmas. You are the light of the star above. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of love. You are the spirit of happiness. You are the spirit of love.
All right. Woo.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here today. May you enjoy. How many are going to have a great meal here in just a little bit?
Yes.
All right, have a little turkey for me and a little chocolate for me, and think of me when you have it, all right? Thank you so much.
We do have
Yes.
prayer chaplains in the house if anyone would like someone
Yes.
to hold sacred space with them.
Absolutely.
They are here this morning and they're available.
That's right. Just walk over here, and the prayer chapel will meet you and have a little prayer with you.